The most dangerous thing in this market has never been volatility or risk. It's the consensus that makes you feel safe. There's an old saying at the poker table. If you've been playing for half an hour and you still don't know who the patsy is, you're the patsy. Now, look at the market. Look at those flashing screens, the endless news, the dinner parties where everyone claims to be a genius. This is the world's biggest poker table, with millions of people sitting here, all convinced they're the sharks. They're all chasing the same hot hand, pushing all their chips toward the same sure bet, all huddled in the same corner of the table. They feel safe. They feel smart. They feel like they're on the winning team. And that feeling, that warm, cozy feeling of being surrounded by people doing the exact same thing as you, that's the precise moment you become the patsy. This is the root of the problem. Don't go where the crowds are. The good stuff has already been picked over. I've been saying this my whole life, and almost nobody listens. It's just human nature, I suppose. People love to walk toward the bright lights and run toward the loud noises. Where the drums are beating the loudest, that's where you'll find the mob. But I have to tell you, wealth is a shy thing. It's timid. It never hangs out in the spotlight. It likes to hide in quiet, even slightly moldy corners, waiting for someone with patience to come and pick it up quietly. I always see people stampeding in the same direction, like a herd of spooked cattle. It doesn't matter if it was tulips hundreds of years ago, the dot-com bubble decades ago, or whatever this new virtual stuff is that you young people are talking about. The script never changes, only the actors. As soon as something sounds like it's making your neighbor, your colleague, or your barber rich, you feel like the biggest fool in the world for not jumping in. They're terrified of missing the wealth train. But you never consider that by the time the news of the train gets shouted into your ear, it's usually pulling into the last station, or even about to go off the rails. Remember, real opportunities are usually hidden in corners no one is looking at. It's quiet there, lonely, maybe even a little scary. When everyone is giving an idea a standing ovation, your job isn't to join in and buy a ticket. It's to quietly get up and check where the exits are. Investing isn't a beauty pageant. You don't need to find the most popular contestant. You need to find the one that will quietly and reliably make you money. Being lonely is scarier than losing money. That's the real issue. People rush into a crowd not because the idea is any good, but because they're afraid to be alone. If you make a decision by yourself, you have to take all the responsibility. If you're wrong, it's all on you. But if you make a decision with a big crowd and it goes wrong, it feels a lot better. See, I'm not the only fool. That ridiculous comfort is the price most people are willing to pay. They trade their hard-earned money for the feeling of I'm not alone. It's the most expensive psychotherapy in the world. And it has never cured a single soul. The crowd isn't always safe. It could be a collective march off a cliff. Why do lemmings jump into the sea? Not because the one in front is a genius, but simply because the line started moving. So the ones in the back just follow along. The market, it's the exact same principle. A hot item's price is high, not because it's worth that much, but because a large group of people believes an even bigger group of fools will buy it from them at a higher price. The name of this game is hot potato. When the music stops, whoever is holding the potato has to pay the bill. And you, who came running from a distance when you heard the music, what makes you think you won't be the last one? The story of your neighbor getting rich is the world's most expensive poison. Nothing destroys a man's reason faster. You work hard, you pinch pennies, you save up a little money over the year. Then you suddenly hear that the guy next door made 10 years of your salary in a few months buying some new thing. In that instant, your discipline shatters. All your principles, all your plans get burned to the ground by jealousy and anxiety. You think, if he can do it, why can't I? And then you turn off your brain and open your wallet. You forget one simple thing. People only ever tell you about their winners. They're certainly not going to knock on your door to tell you when they've lost their shirt. Before you learn to make money, learn to say no. In this life, you'll miss more good opportunities than you can count. As someone will always say, if you had just bought that thing back then, you'd be up 100 times over. Yes, I missed it. But I also dodged thousands, tens of thousands of traps that would have wiped me out. Their energy is finite. You can't catch every opportunity. A good hunter doesn't fire at every rabbit he sees. He waits quietly for the fattest one that he knows he can hit. Saying no to all the noisy, tempting things out there isn't being timid. It's being wise. That's saving your bullets for the one opportunity that truly belongs to you. The goal isn't to be brilliant. It's to avoid being stupid for as long as possible. Everybody wants to be smart, to find the secret to success. But I figured out a long time ago that in this game, victory doesn't go to the most intelligent person. It goes to the person who survives the longest. And how do you survive? It's simple. Don't do stupid things. What's a stupid thing? Going where the crowd is to grab what they're grabbing. That's number one. They're borrowing money to bet on an uncertain future. That's number two. Buying something you don't understand in the slightest. That's number three. You don't have to be a genius. You just need to make a list of all the dumb things that could get you kicked out of the game, and then avoid them like the plague. As long as you don't make any fatal mistakes, time and compound interest will do the work and carry you to the finish line. An itchy trigger finger is the biggest enemy of your pocketbook. A lot of people stare at the red and green lights on the screen all day, as if looking away for a second would mean missing out on $1 billion. They jump in and out of positions, getting a thrill from feeling like they're in control. They call it trading. I call it making a donation. When you're busy darting in and out, not just paying commissions, you're paying with your sanity and your patience. The market is like a great river. The more you struggle, the faster you sink. A truly great company is like a sturdy ship. You buy your ticket, get on board, sit down, and just stay put. It will carry you to the other side. The people who are always trying to jump from ship to ship are the ones who usually end up in the water. Time is your best employee, and it never asks for a day off. What's the greatest asset a young person has? Time. Unfortunately, you all treat this most precious asset like it's worthless. You want to get rich overnight. You want to plant a seed today and harvest the forest tomorrow. That goes against the laws of nature. Anything of value needs time to ferment. You plant a sapling. You have to water it, fertilize it, and wait patiently for 10, 20 years before it becomes a mighty tree. The accumulation of wealth is exactly the same. That thing called compound interest is the greatest magic I've ever seen. But the spell only has 2 words. Just wait. You put a sum of money in a place where it can grow steadily. Then you go live your life and forget about it. Decades later, it will give you a surprise that will knock your socks off. Looking for opportunities in the newspaper is like trying to drive a car by looking in the rearview mirror. By the time a piece of good news is printed on paper and spread to every corner of the country, it's no longer an opportunity. It has become a cost. The value of something everyone knows about has already been priced in. Real insight happens long before things become obvious. Your job isn't to chase the news, it's to understand common sense. What does this company do? Does anyone actually need its product? Can it make money consistently? Are the people in charge honest but dumb? Or are they a pack of clever crooks? You won't find the answers to these questions in the headlines. The road to wealth is usually so boring, it'll put you to sleep. This is the big truth I have to tell you. If you find your investment process to be thrilling, exciting, and heart-pounding, you're probably gambling, not investing. Real investing should be like watching paint dry. The process is excruciatingly dull. You buy a piece of a great business, and then what? Nothing. There is no then. You just hold it. For a year, 5 years, 10 years. You watch it grow slowly, like that tree in your yard. Day to day, you don't see any change. But when you look back after a few years, you realize how tall it has grown. People hate boredom, and that's why they fail. They chase excitement, and that's why they lose money. If you can learn to embrace the boring, you're already ahead of 90% of the people in the market. Gold is always buried in the mud that nobody wants to dig in. People love shiny, glamorous things. They love the star companies that the media fawns over. The prices in those places are like movie star salaries sky high. They like to go digging around in the corners nobody pays attention to. Companies that are in temporary trouble, that are misunderstood, that are even despised by the public. They're like a well-located old house with a rundown exterior. Everyone else sees the mess, but you can see the value after a good renovation. Of course, this takes vision, and more importantly, it takes courage. When you buy something that's out of favor, the whole world will think you're a fool. A strong stomach to trust your own judgment over the roar of the crowd. Hearing and understanding are 2 different things. Most people only do the first. When people talk about an investment opportunity, what they're really talking about is a ticker symbol they heard, a concept they heard, a prediction from some expert they heard. They've never actually spent the time to figure out how the damn business makes money. It's like wanting to marry a woman just because the matchmaker told you she's beautiful. You've never had a conversation with her. You don't know her character or her temper. Isn't that absurd? Well, Putting your hard-earned money into something you know nothing about is 10,000 times more absurd than that. Before you pull out your wallet, ask yourself this: can I explain this investment to a 5-year-old in a few simple sentences? If the answer is no, don't touch it. You don't need to understand rocket science. You just need to understand common sense. A lot of people make investing far too complicated. They study complex charts and arcane theories. The truth is, the most useful tools are often the common sense principles we dismiss every day. Is selling water a good business? As long as people need to drink, it's a business that won't starve. How about collecting trash? As long as cities exist, there will be a never-ending supply of garbage. These simple, almost laughable truths contain the most fundamental business wisdom. Stop chasing high-tech and new paradigms you don't understand. Start right here in your own life with the things you touch every day. Look for the simple, stable businesses that nobody can live without. Your biggest opponent in this life is the guy you see in the mirror every morning. The market's fluctuations, the economy's ups and downs. That's all just external noise. The only thing that can truly defeat you is not the market, it's you. It's your greed that urges you to pile in at the market top. It's your fear that forces you to sell at the bottom. It's your impatience that keeps you from sticking to a sound plan. You can spend all the time in the world studying companies. But if you don't study your own emotions, it's all for nothing. The first step in investing isn't to open your brokerage account. It's to close the door and have a long, hard talk with yourself. Knowing yourself is more important than knowing any company. A man without rules will eventually be ruled by the market. What this means is, if you don't have your own set of principles, the market will impose its principles on you, and it will devour you. You must set your rules when you are clear-headed. For example, I will never buy what I don't understand. I will never invest with borrowed money. The price falls to a point I can't stand. Should I sell or should I buy more? Write these rules down. Stick them on the wall. The market goes crazy and you feel your emotions taking over. Go and read them. These rules are your anchor in a storm. The ship without an anchor can't survive the waves. True wealth isn't about how much money you have. It's about whether you can sleep well at night. I've met too many rich people who are more anxious than the poor. They worry about their fortune shrinking. They worry about being cheated. They lie awake all night. What's the point of having money like that? If an investment makes you unable to eat, unable to sleep, and constantly on edge, then it's a bad investment for you, no matter how much it might make in the future, because it has already robbed you of the most important thing in life, your peace of mind. My investment philosophy is simple. I only do things that let me sleep soundly. That means I only own things I believe in so deeply that I wouldn't worry even if the stock exchange closed for the next 10 years. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That saying is only half right. They tell you to diversify. But the second half of the sentence is, and then watch that basket like a hawk. Over-diversification is a hedge for ignorance. That means you don't know which of your baskets are strong. So you buy a whole bunch of them, hoping a few don't break. This leads to mediocre returns. My approach is different. I spend a huge amount of time finding a very few baskets that I believe are the strongest and most reliable. Then, I put most of my eggs into them very carefully. And then I spend the rest of my life watching those few baskets like my life depends on it. Concentration is more important than diversification, provided you truly know what you're doing. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. These are two completely different things, but 90% of people confuse them. They see a price going up and assume the value is increasing. They see a price going down and assume the thing has become worthless. This is a colossal mistake. Mr. Market is a manic depressive. Every day, he'll show up and quote you a price for your assets. Some days he's euphoric and will offer you a ridiculously high price. Other days he's miserable and will offer to sell you good stuff at a clearance price. A wise person takes advantage of his mood swings. When he quotes a price far below intrinsic value, you buy greedily. When he's giddy with excitement and offers you a crazy high price, you sell to him. But the fools out there just cry when he cries and cheer when he cheers. The patience is a weapon, and it's the most powerful one there is. The jungle of the financial markets, the fast gazelles get eaten by lions, and the strong buffalo get taken down by the pack. But there's one animal that survives to the end, the turtle. He moves slowly, but he never stops, and he has a hard shell for protection. Patience is your shell. It protects you when others are panic selling. It restrains you when others are greedily chasing highs. People are always trying to outsmart the market. I'm just trying to outweigh it. As time passes, the clever ones, the impatient ones, the ones who think they know everything, they all fall by the wayside. In the end, you'll find that the only one left on the track is you, the old turtle, slowly crawling along. Your circle of competence is your moat. Stay inside it. Everyone has things they understand and things they don't. The boundary between them is your circle of competence. The man who has spent his life selling Coca-Cola might not understand microchips, but you can bet he understands the beverage business. The most dangerous thing you can do is to step outside your circle and try to compete in a field you know nothing about. It's like a world champion boxer trying to outswim an Olympic swimmer. You're guaranteed to lose. Stick to your circle of competence. Dig it deeper. The deeper you dig, the wider your moat becomes. The world is a big place, and you can't make all the money, but you can certainly lose all of yours. The compound interest is a joke for the first half of your life and a miracle for the second half. A lot of people hear about the power of compounding and get started with great enthusiasm. 5 years go by, and it doesn't seem like much has happened. They get disappointed. They give up, and they go looking for the next get-rich-quick secret. They don't realize that the compounding snowball starts off rolling very slowly. It requires enormous patience. But if you stick with it long enough, once it passes a certain tipping point, its size and speed will grow in a way you can't even imagine. The vast majority of people quit right before that tipping point. By giving up, they prove to themselves that compounding is just a myth. Only a tiny few, with a lifetime of persistence, turn that myth into their reality. Making things simple is the highest form of intelligence. I know some brilliant people. They can build the most complex models and use the most advanced mathematics to analyze the market. But their investment records are often terrible. That's because they made simple things complicated. They believe that the harder something is to understand, the more sophisticated it must be. I'm the exact opposite. I've spent my whole life trying to make complicated things simple. If I can't analyze a business on a single sheet of paper, I'll probably pass on it. A good decision rarely needs a complex rationale. It should be clear, obvious, and rooted in basic common sense. You see, after all this talk, it all comes back to a few simple, plain truths. Don't go where the crowds are. It's too noisy there to hear the voice of common sense. Be patient. Wealth is a friend to time, not a servant to the impatient. Control your own emotions. Don't let that guy in the mirror ruin you. Only do what you understand. Don't touch what you don't, no matter how tempting it is. These principles aren't new or profound. They're almost cliché, but they work. I've spent a lifetime proving these simple rules. They're like air and water, plain and unremarkable. But you can't live without them. They're just common sense. They're just common sense. But you look around and you realize that in this world, the rarest commodity is often common sense. People are willing to pay a fortune to learn complicated techniques, but they're unwilling to sit down quietly and grasp the simplest wisdom. They chase shooting stars and forget the solid ground beneath their feet. So, if you really want to take something away from all this, take this, a moment of quiet. When everyone else is rushing forward, are you brave enough to stop, stand alone in a corner, and think for yourself? If you can do that, you're already on the lonely path to real wisdom and wealth. The rest of the way, you'll have to walk yourself.